It's fitting that I'm drinking tea right now because I'm kind of spilling the tea on my past self, so good times. Hello, my loves, and welcome back for another video, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to be touching on a little bit of a taboo subject, and it is money and managing your finances, specifically me managing my finances and some of the mistakes that I have made so far in my 20s. A lot of these videos that I have seen have been from people that are kind of looking back on their 20s, so maybe they're like in their early 30s or just somewhere later on in life looking back on their 20s and like mistakes that they made and things that they have since learned and kind of changed. So I thought it would be interesting to do a little bit of a twist on that and just look back at the early part of my 20s, my first few years of working full-time and really kind of learning to manage a full income and all of the responsibilities that come along with being an independent adult. I'm not saying by any means that I have everything figured out, but there are things that I wish I did differently and I would love to share them with you guys. So hopefully you'll gain something from this or learn something and maybe change even just one little thing in your finances. That would mean a lot to me if I could help you guys. That's why I'm filming this video. I'm gonna keep this super casual, as I always like to keep my Coffee with Cassie videos. As with the last several kind of episodes, I guess, if you will, of these videos, I actually have a cup of tea here because I'm filming this at 9 o'clock at night, so coffee would not be the move, but I swear eventually we'll have another coffee date, guys. I need to get on a better filming schedule, but it's gonna take some time. So the first mistake that I made with my finances in my 20s was not tracking my spending closely. This is something that is really easy to do, and once you have a full-time income for the first time, it's very exciting. It's like, wow, like I'm actually comfortable and I can like go buy things. But then you lose track of, you know, where your money is going, and if you don't like pay attention to that, you're eventually going to get yourself in trouble, which is definitely something that I did multiple times and kind of was like unknowingly forcing myself to live paycheck to paycheck, which is not the most ideal lifestyle. No one really wants to do that. And when you keep track of your money and really just everything that's going on in your life, it's just a better situation overall. So that's definitely something that I learned the hard way and wish I would have done differently, but also sometimes you just have to make those mistakes to learn, so I'm glad that I did. Going along with that, another mistake that I made early on was not having a budget for myself. And I know a lot of young adults are not about having a budget. It sounds like too much work and sitting in Excel and just struggling basically, and you know, being bored and not enjoying it. On the flip side, budgeting is so important because it gives you a kind of space to be able to comfortably spend your money and know where it's going and know what you can and can't do. And there are easy ways, especially now in the day and age where we have, you know, so many options for apps on our phones and like Google Docs and just so many options that are really easy. You really don't have an excuse to not have a budget because it's just about the effort of setting it up. And once you do that, you just follow it and that's it. And your life is so much easier. So I personally use the app Mint. I've talked about it a few times on my channel. And once you get it all set up with your accounts and information and everything, it pretty much runs itself. And I love to just check in a couple times a week and make sure that, you know, I'm not going overboard in any of my budget categories. And then I can also see when my bills are coming out of my account and really just track my whole like financial life in one place. So if you guys want an easy way to kind of start to dip your toes into budgeting and tracking your spending, I definitely recommend Mint. It's amazing. Alongside keeping a budget, at first I also didn't have a system to track my bills, which was another thing that got me in trouble and led to unnecessary late fees and just stress that I didn't need to have. So this is also something that's simple once you set it up for yourself, but you do need to figure out whatever system works for you when it comes to the bills that you're just going to have to pay every month and they're not going anywhere. You know, it could be your student loan payment, it could be the payment for your phone, your rent, your utilities. These things add up, and it's easy to lose track of them if you don't have some kind of system to track. So for me, I like to just write everything out in my planner in like the calendar view, but also you can use an app like Mint to track your bills, whatever works best for you. But you definitely need a system so that you're not forgetting something and then having to pay late fees and other fees that you would not have had to spend that money otherwise. Having a system to track everything will definitely save you some headaches and time and money, and all of those things are good. Another mistake that I made was not taking saving seriously, and this has kind of a couple of different elements to it. First of all, I would save, you know, if I had extra money after paying my bills and all of that, and, you know, didn't spend it all eating out or shopping or whatever. I would push it into my savings account, and then the next month maybe I would spend a little bit more money, and so I would just bring it back over from my savings account. And I think one of the things that made that so easy was the fact that I had that savings account right at the bank that I have my checking account, and so it was this easy transfer. It was instantly in my checking account, and it was like I had no way to feel any remorse about it. And I didn't have a good relationship with saving, so I didn't have a clear goal, and I didn't really think about how important it was to do. And so, you know, I'd set the money aside because I knew it was what I was supposed to do, but then it would just end up being spent later on. And so I definitely didn't have a healthy relationship with it, and it really wasn't doing me any favors. Unfortunately, when you have a not good savings plan and you really don't think about these things, that leads to life kind of smacking you across the face and reminding you why it's important to be prepared for these things. And for me, this happened when I needed a pretty expensive repair on my car. And, you know, owning a car or just living your adult life, you're going to run into expenses that you don't expect. Maybe you break a bone. Yes, insurance covers things to an extent, but like there's always going to be those unexpected emergency expenses that you need to cover, and having to swipe your credit card and not knowing when you're going to be able to pay it off is a horrible feeling. I've done this a few times. Not fun, don't recommend. And if you plan ahead and have savings set aside, then you can be comfortable knowing if anything does happen that you're able to take care of it and take care of yourself. And that's something that I now completely understand the value of and really prioritize saving in a separate emergency fund account. I'm not going to say that I have an amazing amount set aside right now, but even just knowing that I'm putting a little bit away for that every month is such a level of peace for me, and I just know that I'm in a much better place when it comes to saving. It's also really great when it comes to your savings goals, whether you're saving for a trip or you're building an emergency fund or, you know, anything else big in your life that you want to prepare for. It's great to have different accounts for each of those things so you can really look at them and know what you're saving towards, know about your goals, and just really don't even get tempted to move that money back over to where you can spend it easily. So it's also great to open those accounts at a different bank from your checking account so that when you make a transfer, it actually takes a day or two and it's something that you really have to think about. And also, if you have a more traditional bank for your checking account, you're going to get a much better interest rate if you go to an online bank or just a bank that is more competitive than your average run-of-the-mill corporate bank that gives you 0.01% or something ridiculous. I personally have my savings account with Barclays US Bank, and they have a 2 point something interest rate, so that's pretty good. And I love that anytime that I'm saving money there, I'm actually getting a decent amount of interest as well. Doesn't hurt. The last area where I didn't take saving seriously was with my retirement account at first. For my first full-time job, I was kind of just this is cool, I guess. Maybe I should sign up for it. So I did open a retirement account right away, and I think I started contributing to it, but then something happened along the way, and so it stopped withdrawing from my paycheck, and I just never asked questions. I was I'll figure that out later, and I let several months pass before I logged in and figured out what was going on and actually started contributing to it again. And yes, I'm young and, I have plenty of time to still plan for the future and work on that, but at the same time, all of that extra little bit of every paycheck that I missed could have added up to so much more. So that's definitely something I regret looking back. And for any of you who are younger and really don't even want to think about retirement, I get it. But at the same time, if you're starting now, it's so much easier to have the snowball effect over your career and be able to maybe even retire early. It's just, you're setting yourself up for success, and it doesn't hurt to, you know, put a really small percentage to the side. I think even now I'm only contributing like 3 or 5% of my income to my retirement account, so it's not anything that I'm going to miss super deeply, but it's going to add up over time, and it's definitely worth it. Another financial mistake that I have made in my 20s so far is not negotiating my salary. And I'll admit, this is still something that I'm working on and kind of guilty of. But my current job, I was so excited to get the offer that I didn't even give it a second thought about maybe negotiating or just pushing that issue and seeing what happened, because the worst thing that can happen when you try to negotiate is that they'll say no, and then you can take a step back and decide whether it's worth, you know, where you're at in your career and all of that. But it never hurts to ask, it really doesn't. And that's something that I've learned kind of since I made a bit of a linear career move. Like, I was at pretty much the same salary at my last job, and so now I've been at the same salary for a long time. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for where I'm at, but at the same time I know that by doing that and just making that switch, I've really probably left some money on the table, and it's something that I want to be more proactive about in the future and definitely not slip by me, because that's just extra income that I could have had I just been a little bit more forward and stood up for myself. And my last and probably biggest financial mistake of my 20s so far is using credit to buy things that I could not afford. Now, this partially was a side effect of me not being a proactive saver and being prepared for when things came up that I could not cover at the time, like car repairs, like unexpected medical expenses, etc. These things happen to all of us, and it seems like not a big deal at the time, but if it's something that you can't afford right away, that adds up, especially when you charge it to a credit card and then you have that crazy interest rate and it's just building and building every month. It's just not a good situation. And of course, it's great to have credit and build credit so that when you need to make bigger purchases, like a car, like getting a mortgage on a house, even like renting an apartment, you need to have good credit to do that. So it's great to build credit, but it's also really important to do it responsibly. And this is also still something that I'm working on. I am not a totally debt-free person, but it's something that I'm much more aware of now and really try to be more responsible with. So it's definitely something that I had to learn the hard way, even though, you know, I grew up knowing that it was an easy thing to fall into, and I was afraid for a long time to open a credit card for that reason. And unfortunately, I'm one of the many people who kind of fell into that, and now I'm learning from my mistakes and trying to do better every day. So like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't think that I'm perfect with managing my finances, but I thought that it was worth being transparent with you guys and just sharing where I'm at and things that I've learned. All right, guys, those were all of the financial mistakes that I have made in my 20s so far. I am only 25, so I've still got another 5 years or so, 4.5, I don't know. There's some time left to figure it out before I hit my 30s and become even more of a real adult, if you will. I feel like every age that I reach, I'm like, oh no, I still have to grow up, so I just need some time. But like, I'm a real adult now, kind of. It's fine, we're working with it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe down below if you're new here. I would absolutely love to have you stick around and join the Curly Hair Love fam. If you have any other mistakes or lessons learned that you would like to share, make sure to leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure that other people watching this video would love to see what you have to say as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you so much, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Turn that shit up.